Yo, this is for the warriors, the truth, tellers, the ones who stand tall when the system's a seller. From the battlefield to the courtroom's grip, this is Mike Flynn's story. Let the truth rip. Born in New England, where the waves crash hard. Raised with the fam, built my heart in the yard. Patriot blood, it runs through my veins. From the sand of Iraq to Afghanistan's pain. 3-star general, dies top dog. Intelligence sharp, cutting through the fog. Honesty my blade, but it made me a mark. Enemies and shadows wanna douse my spark. National security, I took that chair. 24 days, then they flipped the affair. Talks with the world, just doing my role. But the system got plans to take tolls on my soul. Pardon my truth, I ain't been in the lies. Fall for the flag, see the fire in my eyes. They try to cage me, but my spirit don't break. Pardon of innocence for the nation's sake. Yeah, rise up, stand tall, never fold. Truth's my armor and my story's been told. Pardon my truth, let the whole world know. Flynn still fighting where the patriots go. FBI at my door, playing games with the law. Framing tactics, yeah, they clawed at my core. Pled guilty once, trying to shield my kin. But the pressure was a setup just to make me give in. Obama, Biden, names in the plot. Said I'm a threat cause I connect all the dots. Justice turned weapon, aimed at my name. But my faith held strong through the fire and shame. Family's my rock, wife and sons by my side. Face the storm together, yeah, we weathered the tide. They drained my pockets, tried to break my will. But a soldier don't quit, I'm fighting still. From the courtroom chains to the pardon's grace. Trump signed the paper, put the truth in its place. Not just for me, but for freedom's fight. Shining a light where the darkness ignites. Faith in my God, yeah, it carried me through. Freedom's my mission and I'm calling to you. America's future, that's the path I paved. For the kids and the brave, gotta say what we gave. Pardon my truth, I ain't been in the lies. Fall for the flag, see the fire in my eyes. They try to cage me, but my spirit don't break. Pardon of innocence for the nation's sake. Yeah. Rise up, stand tall, never fold. Truth's my armor and my story's been told. Pardon my truth, let the whole world know. Flynn still fighting where the patriots go. They call me a traitor, try to bury my name. But the lies fall apart when you play their game. Corruption in the system, yeah, I'm calling it out. From the swamp to the top, hear the patriots shout. Redemption's my story, I'm stronger than ever. Wiser, bolder, cutting ties they can't sever. America's soul, that's the fight I lead. Planting the seeds for the truth we need. Every scar's a badge, every battle's a call. For the red, white, and blue, I'm giving my all. This ain't just my tale, it's a warning to heed. Stand for what's right, or the nation will bleed. So here's my truth, from the heart of a soldier. Pardon of innocence, the fight ain't over. For the patriots rising, for the land we defend. This is Mike Flynn's story, freedom to the end, to the end, to the end.
Good morning, everyone. That was a longer video than I normally play, but General Mike Flynn posted that this morning to his X account. And I thought, man, that's a good video. We all know what happened to General Mike Flynn, and I hope someday he, is able to get the truth out there a little bit better than what he's been able to so far. But of course, I'm Tabitha Hassell with Tabs on Tap. Happy Monday morning. We have Col Joe Adams joining us in just a moment. I'm going to do my best to get everything out today. As some of you know, I had a biopsy done on Friday, which is a true surgical procedure. And they took like 5 pieces of my right paratracheal lymph node. The last time I had this done, this was my second biopsy. The first one I had done was perfectly fine. It was nothing. left, I came home, I worked, everything was good. This different. I had some minor complications. I had a really hard time breathing, I guess, after the procedure, and they had to give me fentanyl and some other things to kind of open up my airways. And I was having a really hard time keeping my oxygen saturation, over 90. It was like 86, 87, 88, still kind of right about that 90 range, but they did let me go home, thankfully. But I don't know what's going on. I'm definitely having some issues. I've been like shaking and my eyes are all sunken in. I don't know what's happening. So I'm just going to play it this week, one day at a time. One day at a time. I don't have my results back yet. They did a bronchial washing. They did some kind of lavage in my lung, just get anything, know what's going on in there. And then, of course, they took 4 samples of that lymph node. The only thing that I know so far is what the doctor told me when he came out, and I kind of barely remember, and it doesn't sound good. I'm hoping that the results are better. He still, said it was probably an infection, but I guess those lymph nodes, it's the 4R station, which is your lower. I always thought it was the upper paratracheal nodes I had a problem with, but it's the lower. So they're all matted together. So I have like a whole agglomeration of lymph nodes all stuck together and whatever is going on. Hopefully just an infection. I don't have any test results back yet, so we'll see what happens. But so bear with me today if I can't get it all out. Good morning, Mary. Good morning, Linda. And good morning, Karen. We're going to be bringing Colonel Joe Adams in. And he obviously played that video by General Mike Flynn. If you have an opportunity, go back and see it from the beginning. That is a fantastic video. We're going to be talking about ICE today, targeting truck stops, HSI investigating Antifa, and of course, their funding sources, calling out George Soros. I don't think any of us were surprised by that. Colonel Macgregor wanting to bring our troops back. We're going to talk about an Indian man ripping off Blackrock, which is pretty darn funny. Are we going to, have boots on the ground in Nigeria? Something talk about SNAP. Believe it or not, there were some dummies that went out this weekend and tried to steal groceries from Walmart. I've got a little video we'll play of that later. And Charlie says, results. We don't need any stinking results. Power through. You're right, Charlie. We don't need results. We just got to take care of our bodies either way, right? Either way. That's all that matters. Good morning, Vernon. We're going to be bringing Colonel Joe Adams in now. I'm going to go check, make sure he is ready. Yep, there he is. He's ready. We're going to bring him in. Colonel Joe Adams with the Washington Guard. Good morning, Colonel Joe Adams. Welcome to Tabs on Tap. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. Yeah, just enjoying the nice weather out here. We're actually starting to button up the ranch for winter, so it's plenty to do to stay busy outside. So what was the big rally they had in Clayton over the weekend? Anybody know about that? So Mark McCloskey calls me at the last minute, and they were having these speaking engagements starting like at 9 o'clock in the morning and into past dinner, and it was a big Republican rally, and had some guest speakers come in, and they mistakenly didn't have any security. So at the last minute,
no.
Yeah, one of them is the former big shot with the Trump administration, DC prosecuting attorney. Anyway, so the last minute, Mark calls me, goes, I go, well, Mark, why didn't you could you give me like a warning, like 24 hours? He goes, I just found out 2 minutes ago that we overlooked one thing, security. Could you send down some?
Oh my goodness.
Oh yes, could you send some Washington Guard down because these people are concerned about their well-being. There hasn't been any threats, but anyway, we took care of business. They got through it, and it was a really nice Republican speech rally. So it was really nice. But I told Mark, next time, give me a little more notice. We're the Minutemen, but we need more than 2 minutes.
So security should always be at the forefront of any rally planning. But I didn't hear about it. Of course, I was a little incapacitated this weekend. I didn't hear anything about it. But Colonel Adams, this is something I'm going to be talking about, and we'll probably talk about it again. I am going to of the Tea Party. Now, the Tea Party, speaking of rallies, I back in the day, I never really got into the Tea Party. I've always supported what they were doing, but I myself was not a member of the Tea Party. But guess what I'm going to do? I am going to join the Tea Party, and I think everyone else needs to do the same thing.
Yeah, there's no downside to not joining the Tea Party, of course. You don't hear much about them anymore.
Nope, they're still there though. They're still out there alive and well, but we need them more. now than ever, because look what is happening with the taxation, particularly in the state of Illinois, but it's happening all across the country. We are at this breaking point. I mean, Americans are literally at a breaking point. We cannot afford our utility rates to go up. We can't afford, our property taxes to go up or gas taxes. Why are we paying all these taxes anyway? To do what? It makes no sense.
I don't know how
It makes
people
no
on
sense.
fixed incomes can afford that. It's like they disregard the people on fixed income and they keep raising prices anyway. This doesn't make sense.
It,
I'll,
it doesn't make sense.
I'll tell you something that doesn't make sense. So over the weekend, I got a chance to watch CNN and MSNBC News. And of course, I've got it on split screen. So, and of course, my favorite, Al Sharpton's on there saying about how proud they are of how they get in the president's way and stop everything that he tries to pull off. And I went on MSNBC and they had this attorney on there. I don't remember his name. I don't care. Bragging about how successful the Democratic Party is to be a roadblock in front of all of Donald Trump's policies. What is that? I mean, they're bragging about interfering with presidential policies and helping in America. These
Yeah.
people. Oh, then it reminded me, and I can't. Maybe somebody out there knows this. Years ago, I remember reading about a theologian who said one of the symptoms of a demise of a society is when right is wrong and wrong is right. I mean, that describes the Democrat Party. And they're openly bragging about and accepting of a socialist communist running for the mayor of New York. And they're excited about it.
They are excited about it, but there's also a lot of fraud that's taking place. That's something I kind of looked into over this weekend, where there's a large number of people in this country who obtain Social Security numbers illegally, of course, through the Democrats. And now they're out and they're voting for Mamdani, and they've caught them. It's not a secret, but there's just massive voter fraud taking place in New York right now.
Well, it always has been. I just can't believe Cuomo's got a chance. But even to elect a communist who's now a socialist, he was a communist, now he's a socialist. But the Democrat Party is welcome him with open arms, and they think it's a good idea. Well, so Mark Levin was on Saturday night, and he showed a series of clips of an American grocery store with all of, just everything you can imagine that we have here, and that is because of capitalism, which is what the Democratic Party now is trying to go the other direction. Obama stopped short on endorsing Mamdani because if it fails, then he doesn't want to be a part of it. But New York's going to get what they deserve. So
you're probably right. It's a crazy situation with Mamdani. Honestly, I don't even know that they needed to cheat, because I honestly think a lot of the people in New York are going to vote for him either way. The people who are left in New York are mostly people who despise conservatives, despise Trump. All the other folks already left a long time ago. And who would have ever thought that we would rather have Cuomo than another candidate?
Yeah.
But we've got to that.
Yeah.
And you're right. And Mamdani, what he wants to do, he wants to have the government run the grocery stores, which is actually clearly socialism. We've talked about this on the show a few times now, where that's what he wants. And what do you think happens, to your point, when the government in the state of New York starts running these grocery stores? You're going to have 2 types of cheese, 2 types of cereal. You're going to have very limited choices, because that's what socialism is.
Yeah, government cheese. Now, I've been in communist countries and in other countries where we're at war, and you walk into a grocery store and half the shelves are bare because they've taken away, the capitalism. So we'll see what happens, but get ready, New York, because you're not going to like what's going to happen. Wrong is right, and right is wrong.
Correct. And
New York City.
And I hope that people remember when it comes to socialism, the whole point in socialism, especially running grocery stores or any type of retail store, is that they don't want, obviously they're against capitalism, but they don't want one person to be able to pay $10 for a box of cereal and another person only be able to pay $1 for a box of cereal. So what they do is they give you two choices that are the same price. So each person is getting the same cereal, $5 or $5, because they don't think it's fair that one person through capitalism can afford more than another person. It's all about leveling the system to where there is no more capitalism. There's no more opportunity to go out and own your own business and make your own money, because the minute you do that under socialism, guess what? You're going to have to shave off all of the money you make over a certain amount and give it to the other people, who aren't. And that was like that Billie Eilish. I don't really know anything about Billie Eilish. I don't have time to listen to music. I know she's a musician. She was apparently at some type of award show a few days ago, and she asked something about the crowd. She said, "Hey, why are some of you people still billionaires?" She, like her socialist friends, they think that if you're a billionaire, then you should shave off so much from the top and give it to the other people. It's not about capitalism and working hard for your money. It's about some people work really hard to give it to the people who don't.
Yeah, and it's never worked yet. I don't know what they're thinking. It's never worked. It never will work. Free enterprise, the American way, and these people are trying to destroy it. I mean, absolutely destroy it. And you see that Nigerian stuff going on? Well, I don't know why they just those Nigerian, was it Boko Haram?
Yes.
Well, that's ISIS.
Yes, that is ISIS.
How do you know it's ISIS? Well, when you fly the ISIS flag, I think that kind of makes you ISIS. But this has been going on for about close to 20 years, because I had friends who were contractors who were going over there training the Nigerian police to protect the small communities. But it was a CIA financed operation. Actually, it was Blackwater, and then they changed the name because a bunch of them got sued or whatever, and it went to called Triple Canopy. Now it's the Academy. Same group, same bunch of guys, but they pulled out of there sometime in the around 2015, because I had a friend going over there training the police and asked me if I'd be interested in going back as a contractor, and I said no, those days are behind me. But anyway, this is nothing new. But here's the thing: tens of thousands of Christians are being slaughtered by this Boko Haram, ISIS. Where's the protests?
Nobody cares about Christians being slaughtered. Come on, Colonel Adams. Look what happened in Syria most recently.
No.
And Donald Trump. Why didn't Donald Trump stand up for the Christians in Syria that were getting slaughtered?
When wrong is right and right is wrong. So the Palestinian protests here in this country went off the charts, right? So they're protesting for what's wrong, and they think it's right. I don't see any Christians out there protesting for what's right, and other people are calling it wrong. This is an upside down world. Upside down.
It is an upside down world. Boko Haram, they've been in Africa for quite some time now, and they are ISIS. They literally are ISIS. And of course, we, the United States, created ISIS. We are the largest terror organization in the entire world, of course. I was hoping that would change under Donald Trump, and to some degree it has. However, what I don't understand is, well, let me put this. I do understand. Let me change my wording. I do understand. This is not about saving Christians in Nigeria. It's not. This is about rare earth minerals in Nigeria. This is about what can we gain from Nigeria, because trust me, there are Christians being persecuted all over the world. And we're not talking about putting boots on the ground. We're not talking about airstrikes in those areas. We want what they have, and we want it before China gets it, because China is making progress. Russia starting to get into the mix because they want the rare earth minerals, other commodities that they have in Africa. I don't believe for 1 minute that this has anything to do with Christianity.
But these guys, they have an ulterior motive. Now, there's a big, huge Russian presence being developed in Africa for exactly the reasons you're talking about.
Yeah, we're just trying to beat them to it. That's all it is. We don't care about trust me, we don't care about the Christians in Nigeria. The country, while I love Donald Trump, he is definitely the greatest president we've ever had. Some of our foreign policies are still the same because we still have a lot of those same folks in our government giving advice. And unfortunately, it's not the Christians we're trying to save. We could have went over to Syria and we could have made sure that they didn't oust Assad and save the Christians. And instead, we helped them oust Assad, and Assad had to flee. And then guess who runs Syria now? Al Qaeda, like literally Al Qaeda, a leader that we had what was it, a $10 million bounty on his head? And he changed his name, put a suit on, and now all of a sudden he's the leader, of Syria. And what were they doing? They went door to door murdering Christians and other religious minorities. Anyone that didn't follow Sharia law, they got rid of them. We didn't go over there and try to help those people.
Christians have always been the #1 persecuted religion in the world. I mean, look at clear back to Jesus. So nothing's new. But I just don't understand the mentality. Where are people? Why aren't people pissed off and in the streets about this kind of? They don't. But they allow protests for the pro-Palestinian people to kill the Jews. Right is wrong and wrong is right. That's where we're at today. This is
a lot of people just don't know. Something I try to remind myself of every day, and it's hard for me to do this, but is that a lot of people really just don't know what's going on. A lot of people don't watch the news. They don't research. They see a headline and they just think, oh, and tomorrow there'll be a different headline. People just don't pay attention. And a lot of people feel helpless to the cause also. We as conservatives, we are typically not the people who go out and make waves. Why? Because we're busy. we're working, we're trying to live our lives. We're trying to run our businesses. We don't have time to go out and protest about things.
That's true. Yeah, I agree. That's true. Yeah, we're doing the right thing still. Anyway, we're upset. Hey, I just got a blurb this morning. I don't know what it's all about. What my colleague, Colonel Macgregor, what's he up to? What's he saying?
I'm going to read a quote to you from Colonel Macgregor, because I know you and I are both big fans of Colonel Douglas Macgregor. And so I'm just going to read it to you because you know what, Colonel Adams, I think he's right. And this very much goes along with the conversation that we're already having. Colonel Douglas Macgregor stated this morning, he posted this on X. He said, "Our greatest battle is on the home front. Bring our troops home. The world has changed. Tiny pockets of troops all over the world are doing nothing to stop what is happening or is going to happen." And he is 100% correct. We talk about this all the time on this show. The enemy is already here. There have been several people speaking out this weekend about potential for terror attacks, ongoing terror attacks. They foiled a terror attack in Michigan, as you know, and he is absolutely right. Let's bring our troops home. Let's secure our country first and forget about everything else. What happened to America first? I'd like to know.
Well, yeah, they stopped that terrorist attack, but the Democrats are saying it never happened. See?
Yes, of course they are.
Right. It's just upside down world. It's terrible. And I guess they found out now that what's that judge's name? Boasberg or something?
Boasberg.
He's the one that signed all those search warrants and affidavits and subpoenas. The same guy. The same guy.
The one who tries to stop from doing literally everything.
Yeah. They need to go arrest that guy. They need to start arresting judges. That'll really piss them off. So, hey,
it could happen. Wait, don't change the subject on me yet. Not yet, because we got to talk for a second about what Colonel Macgregor said.
Yeah, okay.
I want to know: do you agree with him? Do you agree? Because Colonel Macgregor wants us to bring our troops home. And as you know, we've got little pockets of troops stationed all over the world, and for places where we probably shouldn't even be. Do you agree with him that those troops should come home and protect our home front? And until we're safe here, we shouldn't be anywhere else.
Well, the problem with that is, Posticut Matatas, the enemy is already inside our borders. That's going to be a big enough problem. No, but what's Canada going to invade us or Mexico? No. But I don't believe in wasting our troops' lives for situations that never change. We're not going to put boots on the ground. And that Nigerian thing, that's United Nations problems. I mean, one of their directives is stopping persecution of of people in religions. Why aren't they doing it? And they're quiet about it. They're silent. We're not going to put boots on the ground in Nigeria, not at this time. But yeah, I'm with Macgregor. I'm not here. When I was a field commander, my main objective was that my men come home, and women too, could come home. I never sacrificed a man in combat that I sent on a mission that I wasn't willing to go on. Macgregor, he's like me. He cares about the men and women in the military. And these foreign wars that are always sprouting up, that's just, nothing's going to change. This world is in bad shape right now. But I will tell you, though, 82nd Airborne did return some of the troops back to their bases in the United States. Remember I told you that the one that was it 82nd, 101st, 82nd Airborne bases were like ghost towns. They're all overseas, but a lot of them are returning now, coming back to the United States.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. But now, to turn that on you, Colonel Adams, what about Venezuela? We talk more about this Venezuela on this show than probably any other show on the planet. But, you know, Donald Trump has said what we've been saying for weeks now, is that Maduro's days are numbered. And of course, I don't know if you saw this video from Venezuela. I'm not going to play it, but they showed their troops and Donald Trump was making fun of them, saying, oh, they've got a hodgepodge. They've got, you know, some Russian artillery. They've got some Chinese weapons. They've got stuff from Iran. It's just a big hodgepodge. And now Maduro, knowing that his days are numbered, he has called out and asked Iran, China, and Russia to provide assistance. I don't think they'll do it, but that's what he's asking.
No, they don't want to get involved, because by supporting him, supporting narcotics trafficking and all, you know, they're not going to get involved. They got enough problems. But I don't think we'll land troops. We might, you know, we might end up putting a small group of maybe some Green Berets and stuff in there after the fact that we do precise point-on aerial bombing.
Right.
I think our first objective will be to kill him. So you cut the head off the snake. And I think right now we got enough CIA guys in here. All they got to do is find him, do precise bombing, and eliminate him, and let the rest of them think about it. But you know, he's not in this all by himself.
No, he's not. And you know,
but
I'm kind of surprised.
It is a narco country ran by.
Well, it is. It is.
He needs to be taken out.
And he will be. You know, I have no doubt that he will be. Maybe not killed, but he will be removed from Venezuela, from power, no question. But I was kind of surprised this weekend when I heard reports, I think it was Saturday morning, where they said that Donald Trump has authorized airstrikes in Venezuela and they could start happening at any moment. And then that policy reversed. They said, nope, we're not going to do that. So I was kind of curious why he made that reversal, that yes, we are, but then no, we're not.
Well, Maduro better head for the tunnels, because he's a marked man. They're going to take him out. Hey, is this accurate? So I got word from somebody in Indiana. They have commandeered, I guess it's state patrol. They found 1,100 fraudulent CDLs. Is that true?
It's true in every state, not just Indiana. They've been doing a lot of work looking at those. You know, we have ICE agents right now at truck stops, at rest stops, at way stations, and they are uncovering these fake CDLs in every state. It's not just California like some people thought. It's happening everywhere.
1,100, and they just started. So think about that. You know, closest I ever came to getting in an automobile accident was on 44, where the truck I'm passing a truck and he just changes lanes and almost runs me off the road twice on 44. Because people used to think, well, he got a CDL, he's a professional truck driver, they're safe. No, they're not safe anymore.
Yeah, unfortunately, things have changed a lot. You know, I know you do. As a matter of fact, I saw you there at the convoy. Remember the truckers that were going against the, vaccines and so on out there in Cuba? You know, I saw you there, of course, and your entire team. And we fought hard for those truckers and their rights to not be vaccinated. And I still agree with those policies. But however, the trucking industry, look how much it's changed just since that happened. What was that, in 2021? I believe it was. Look how much has changed. Now, all of a sudden, you no longer know who's driving on the road next to you. You just don't know. It had already started back then, but under Biden's presidency, it just was completely out of control. Anybody could get a CDL. You didn't even have to take a test to get one. That's what's sad. And Colonel Adams, I think you probably know this. The CDLs that they're getting, they're not getting them on the black market. They're getting them from the DMV.
Yeah, but a lot of them aren't even signed. They don't even know the guy's name. He just carries a CDL. And of course, they can't speak English. They don't know signs. And it's too bad some of my other friends who have trucking jobs, and of course, I'm close to the Hoffa family and the unions, are being pushed out because of these illegal CDLs and the people driving these trucks. They're not even American citizens. So
Americans are absolutely, I'm so glad you said that, because I meant to bring that up last week and just got sidetracked as always, but you are absolutely right. Somebody reached out to me early last week and they said, hey, I'm so glad you guys talk so often about truck drivers and have respect for us and appreciate what we do, but we are, just what you said, Colonel Adams, being pushed out of the industry. Because guess what? You know what? They charge your typical rate, but they have these illegals coming in who have fake CDLs, often, and they're charging a much lesser rate. So they're getting the contracts and taking it away from Americans.
Yeah, that's always been a big scam. It started in the roofing business in the United States, where a union company would cachet a bunch of illegals in a hotel someplace, charge union rates, but pay pennies on the dollar to the illegals. I was at a site one time. There were 52 El Salvadorians on this apartment complex. 52. I counted them. I called my friend downtown with U.S. Customs and Immigrations. I won't mention his name. And I said, I'm sitting out here on a non-related incident. I got 52 illegals. They're from El Salvador. I've been talking to them. Come out here and arrest them. He goes, there's nothing we can do. But that was during Obama. So.
Oh, of course. And Obama was pretty good about deporting. Colonel Adams, Allison's comment is very similar to what you were saying, that they have found many CDL licenses, no name given on them. Did you hear that they found thousands of CDLs at these various truck stop, checkpoints, and they're all the same name. So it might say John Smith. Well, there's 1,000 people running around this country with fake CDLs that say John Smith as the name. Now, I don't know what the name is that's on them, but they're talking about how they have been finding multiple CDLs, all with the same person's name.
That was one of my aliases in Central America. I mean, I had a post office box in another state, and I had a person picking up my mail, and she says, we get a lot of mail for a John Smith, but that was me. So it was my nom de guerre. I thought I used John Smith because I thought it was funny. But a real CIA funny story is I'm clearing customs in a foreign country, and I see this guy who I know is a CIA official, right, an operative, and I asked him for a ride to the presidential palace, and he says, yeah, sure, instead of getting a taxi cab. So I get in the car and we're driving along, and the CIA guy says to me, he says, what's your name? I said, well, it's Joe Adams. He goes, no, come on. What's your real name? And I said, it's Joe Adams. He goes, that's the best we could do is give you Joe Adams. So he didn't even believe my name was Joe Adams.
That's funny.
It's so simple. Anyway, before I let you go, or you let me go, our training muster, people want to sign up as a guest, is on the third Saturday of each month. One's coming up. We're specializing now in guerrilla warfare and tactics and scenarios because we train for the inevitable, what's coming. Believe me, some type of warfare, civil war, terrorism. Terror is inevitable. We're going to be under attack by terrorism. We talked about how all the hospitals have been alerted to a terrorist attack coming sometimes before Ramadan or during Ramadan. And sign up for our newsletter, patriots@thewashingtonguard.com, and you'll see me on there. I do a column called Behind the Lines, which was mostly where I worked when I was with the military. So anyway, I'll let you go now. Tab, thanks for having me. I'll see you next week. Hope you're feeling better.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you.
people keep your head. Oh, we talked about another thing we talked about, and we'll do this next week. People who would suddenly vanish from this planet would be a better world. And guess what? 99% of the time, if you pyramid it out, it all comes back to Obama. Obama was the start of the downfall of this country. He's the guy.
Yes.
It all comes back to Obama. See you
You're
next week.
100% correct.
God bless our president. God bless the United States of America. And God help us. Thank you.
Well, Joe Adams for joining us today. Always happy to see Colonel Joe Adams joining us with the Washington Guard. Out to the WashingtonGuard.com and send an email to them, join, come out and see a muster. I am sure they would be more than happy to have you. Love having Colonel Joe Adams on. I'm sad he had to leave us early today. Fantastic, always a fantastic guest, and always has so much to contribute and add to the show, which I love. Sometimes there are certain topics that I like to bounce off of Colonel Adams, just because I am not, a military member. I've never served in the military. There are things that I think I know, but I don't know if I know. So it's nice to have him come on and kind of give that educated opinion on so many different topics, especially when it comes to war in particular, or safety in our own, communities in our own country. And like Colonel Adams said, he doesn't think that we're going to have boots on the ground in Nigeria. And as I reiterated, and I will continue to reiterate, yes, of course, Donald Trump cares about Christians. Yes, the United States cares about Christian lives, but us going to Nigeria has nothing to do with Christianity. We are just looking to gain some rare earth minerals, and we're in a rush to get there before Russia and China takes over. And they're absolutely moving at a very quick pace. So we'll see what happens there, of course. We talked a little bit about Venezuela, of course. Maduro's time is definitely numbered. And some of the other things I wanted to talk about today, I don't know if you guys saw this. We were talking about SNAP benefits, quite a bit, over the past couple of weeks, particularly last week. And I don't know if you remember, but there were a bunch of folks who said they were going to go out on November 3rd, which is today, and go to Walmart at a certain time. I think it's at 6:30 p.m. I don't know if that's Central Standard, Eastern. And they're all going to get their carts full of groceries and just walk out the door, because they said, well, they can't stop everyone. They just can't stop everyone. Well, I think people got the dates mixed up. There were a lot of people who were at Walmarts, I'm hearing, in different areas this weekend trying to steal groceries. And this is so crazy. I've got a very short clip of a video of these people who've got their grocery carts filled, trying to walk out the door. And of course, Walmart is expecting this to happen. So Walmart decides to shut the cash registers down to kind of gain some control of the situation. Now, I don't know where this took place. Somebody had marked it as Atlanta, but I don't know that this was Atlanta. But I'm going to show you this quick video here. Absolute chaos. And I hope that this was just isolated incident.
Let's go. They're shutting it off. Move. They took our cars.
I'm not paying for this.
Folks, you can't leave with that.
Trump cut us off, man. We got to
Get in the car. Hurry up.
Nothing left for us.
I mean, it's not funny. I know I kind of giggle, but yes, I'm sure there are people who are legitimately concerned that they're not going to have food to eat this month. But I'll tell you what, if you're the type of family, you're going into a Walmart or to a grocery store and you fill your cart up with food and you're trying to hurry up and leave, and you say, well, we have the right to do this because Trump cut off our benefits. No, it quite honestly, and I'm going to be very careful how I phrase this. If you have the ability to walk into a grocery store and think that you are capable of stealing groceries, you should be, and any of these people who do this should be removed from the SNAP system. They should never, ever again in their entire lives receive SNAP benefits. It is not okay to go into the grocery store and decide you're going to steal your groceries. And I know it's a tough situation, but most states now have plans in place where they're going to make sure that they have adequate amounts of food at food banks to make sure they can support the people of their state. In Missouri, Waukegan announced $5 million. But now I'm also hearing that it's very likely the USDA is working and they are going to reinstate SNAP benefits by this coming Wednesday. So that's also just potentially around the corner. It sounds like that's going to happen. I expect it to happen. So I think that the situation we're facing right now and a lot of the fear a lot of people have is going to be resolved. You know, and I've never heard Donald Trump at any point fight the SNAP program being funded. I've not heard that. Some people say, oh, he doesn't want SNAP to be funded. I've never heard that. The only statement I've heard out of Donald Trump is he said, we were told by our attorneys that during a government shutdown, there is no way to fund the SNAP benefits. And then Democrats said, oh, yes, you can do it through the USDA. You can do it through these other appropriated funds. And I thought that this was a nice thing for Trump to say. He didn't go against it. He didn't say, nope, we're not going to do it. He said, okay, if there's a way, we'll do it. You know, our attorney said no, telling us, yes, you can. So we're going to look into it. We're going to try to figure out a plan. He didn't fight Democrats on it. You know, if it was the other way around, Democrats would have fought him every single, and I'm talking Democrats in Congress, not Democrats, in our communities, but they would have fought him every step of the way. If this role were reversed, I can assure you it would be Democrats fighting every single step of the way. And Lori says, if they have the ability to steal, they probably have the ability to work. Well, true also, absolutely true. Jay says, you've known this was coming and needed to plan accordingly. Jay, absolutely. There's a lot of people who have made those comments in a positive reference where they said, hey, yes, I receive supplemental nutritional assistance through the SNAP program, but I always make sure that I have enough food to last in case there's an emergency or in case something happens. And a lot of people are saying, well, in this case, they knew the government was shut down. They announced, 3-4 weeks ago that SNAP benefits probably would not be paid. So a lot of people put money back. They use their SNAP benefits to buy things that would last longer, that would, extend maybe an extra month or so. And of course, we have the food banks. We're going to be upping, the type of foods that they're carrying. But I read a story about this. Some of you may have also, because it happened in the St. Louis area where there was went to not a food bank, but sometimes individuals will set up a little food system. Sometimes it's at the end of their driveway or at a community center. And it's nothing official. It's not manned. There's nobody there working. Sometimes they have cameras, sometimes they don't. And people in the community can come in and they can it's kind of like a drop box. They can leave food in this little drop box. And that's what happened this weekend. There was a couple who came. They went to the grocery store, used their own money to buy all of this. It was like ramen noodles, and it was just very shelf-stable things, little cups of different things, granola bars, and so on. Well, as they were there loading up all of this stuff into this pantry box, a car pulled up behind them, and they were the people in that car were kind of waiting pocket. And then they said just as they were leaving, they saw a couple people get out of that car, shopping bags. Well, they drove around the block and came back. And when they came back, the two people in that car wiped out everything. They took everything in that box, and that is not how it's supposed to work. But unfortunately, that is how us greedy Americans tend to do things. So here are people taking their own funds, stocking this free, and expecting, of course, people to use the honor system and take a little. Isn't that how it's supposed to be? Take a little for us and leave for somebody. These people come in, they take it all. And you know what? Then they go down the street and then they sell it, for $1 or $2 and make money off of it. I am so sick of society these days that everybody's about themselves. Nobody cares about anyone else. It absolutely drives me insane. Mary says they would have extra food if they stopped buying junk food, probably. Oh, no, I'm sure you're right, Mary. There's probably some people who don't use their SNAP benefits to buy junk food. But most people probably do. Sodas and cakes and pies and cookies and other sugary stuff that's not only not good for you, but is more expensive and lasts a lot longer. Then there's other people say, well, it's too expensive to buy healthy food, that it's actually cheaper to buy cookies and sandwiches and junk food, and that it's healthier than buying a bag of frozen chicken breasts or something. I don't know. I don't know. I don't buy a whole lot of junk food at the grocery store, so I'm not really sure. But either way, whether you're on SNAP assistance or not, people have to make their dollars stretch these days. And I know there's a lot of people who are very upset that, hey, I'm working, a full 40-hour week. My significant other works. We're having a hard time. We're struggling putting food on the table, paying all of our bills. But then we have other people who are going out getting thousands of dollars a month, thousands in SNAP benefits, and they're just walking through the grocery store buying anything and everything they want. They're just living on these benefits. And I'm certainly not saying that about everybody. There's a lot of people out there. We all know there's are people right now working. I know people here in the state of Illinois for sure who are making $14 an hour. If you're making $14 an hour, there is no way in a million years you can support yourself. It is just not possible. You would have to live, even if you worked 40 hours, you would have to live with roommates. You'd have to live with family. There is no way you could support it. And just think, if you have two people with children, and each of those parents is only making $14 an hour, and then you can't get by. And then, of course, you're going to still be working your 40 hours, but you're also going to qualify for SNAP benefits because you're just not making enough money to feed your family. And then don't even get me started on Walmart. Walmart employs more people in poverty than probably any other business in the entire country. They don't let anybody work full time. Almost everybody that works at Walmart, they're all made to work less than 37 hours. Most of them anywhere from 8 to 12, 15 hours, a week. And it's a really sad situation. And I don't think that Walmart should be able to get away with it. Now, they do that because they don't want to pay people benefits. So what you end up happening is you have this big corporation like Walmart, and the majority of their employees don't have health benefits, and they don't make enough money or have enough hours to be able to sustain themselves. So yes, those people are often receiving SNAP benefits, government health care, and so on. Because to me, Walmart is, I'm trying to think of the right word to say, but what they've done to our society is just awful. Jay says what they buy, that's on them. Jay, and that's a valid, we're very divided by what people think. Should they or shouldn't they be able to buy junk food? Should you be able to take your government benefits and buy anything you want? I personally in favor of a rations type system where where every family member is allotted a set amount of, let's say bread, cheese, eggs, milk, coffee, sugar, like the old days, the old rations, and that each person in the family is allotted those rations. And if you want more than that, then you either need to go do community service or you need to work to because it should just be supplemental. It shouldn't be a way of life. And if you're just getting the basics, that's your food. You can live on that. They'll give you enough to live on. But if you want more than that, then you have to do something for it. And there, of course, could be exceptions, people who are disabled or some other situations, of course. But yeah, it's a tough situation. It's a tricky situation, and a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on that. But we'll see. Every day they're going to give us some updates. As of right now, they're saying it's going to be reinstated by Wednesday. We will see, because I worry. I talked about that last week. I do worry about people. There's out there who truly do depend on SNAP benefits. A lot of people who could not other way, and they probably don't get a lot. I don't know about you guys, but there are plenty of times in my lifetime, especially in the past couple years, where I'll go to the grocery store and I'll see an elderly person in the grocery store, and they might have two things in their cart, three things. And it's always on my mind, like, is that just all they wanted? Did they just come to pick up for, a couple of things, or is that all they can afford? I was standing in line behind a guy one day. I was getting a tire worked on, and a guy came up behind me, and he was talking to the person that worked there, trying to get a good deal on a tire. And he told the guy, he's like, hey, if I buy there, I'm not going to be able to eat the rest of the month, but I have to have a tire. Tough situation that Americans are facing right now. Now, there was a woman who stepped up when this guy said that, and she's like, it's very small, knows each other. And she's like, hey, or whatever his name was, come on over. You can come over and have dinner at my house every single night, but you need to get this tire. And the guy said he was joking, that he's really not that bad off. True or not true? I don't know, but I do know we're in a tough situation, which is why I was talking about the dinner with Col Joe Adams, and I'm going to talk more about the Tea Party in the coming days and weeks, because I think that it's time we need to step up and start doing something. I think a revival of the Tea Party. The Tea Party probably says we didn't need a revival. We're still here and going strong. But I think we need a Tea Party revival. Back in the day when the Tea Party was so popular, I was not a member of the Tea Party. But I looked them up this weekend. I'm going to be joining officially the Tea Party, and I think everyone really should, because we have got to start fighting for America. You know, we can belong to like a turning point, but I think you know, or the Washington Guard, all these different groups, but we need to belong to a group. We all need to start coming together. A group like the Tea Party that's fighting against these crazy, ridiculous taxes, against bringing illegals into our country and give free benefits. So the Tea Party, I do think, stands for everything all of us believe. So that's something we're going to talk a little bit more about as we go. Before we head out, let's see here. One more thing I want to talk about. We've pretty much talked about everything I wanted to cover today. We talked about ICE targeting truck stops with Col Joe Adams, which people are losing their minds over. Why would ICE be at a truck stop? That shouldn't happen. No, where is the best place to figure out who's driving our trucks? Then guess what? At a truck stop or at a way station or at a rest area, you go where the truckers are, correct? I don't see how anybody wouldn't want to make our streets safer. I don't get it. I do not get it. One last thing I want to talk about before we head out, because I thought it was kind of funny. There's a guy, his name is Bankim. I know I'm going to butcher this name. Bankim Brambot. Bankim Brambot. Have you heard of this guy? He's an Indian businessman from the country of India. And this is the funniest thing I think I've heard in a long time. He finagled and stole $500 million from Blackrock and other big lenders. And I kind of read a little bit about how he did this, where he created these applications, fraudulent applications, to get money for lending, you know, borrowed money from these different banks. And none of it was real. It was all just a big lie. And he ended up amassing $500 million, and now he's on the run. He took all of that money and transferred it to these different accounts, foreign accounts, and they can't, not only can they not catch or find the guy, but they're not able to get their money back. You know, kind of like well, we'll see what he does. More people are going to applaud him than anything else. But I wanted to make sure I got that in. That's about all I've got to talk about today. As I said earlier, I'm not feeling, so I wanted to have a show and kind of come on. I had my biopsy again on Friday. I expected things to go pretty smooth and be done with my biopsy and come home and feel great like I did the last time, but it's been a really, really rough weekend. I have felt absolutely awful. I feel absolutely awful now, just trying to get through the show without coughing. I'm going to kind of play this week by ear, you know, day to day and see how things are. I don't have any of my results back yet, but like I said earlier, if you were listening, my doctor kind of peeped in when I was in the recovery room, and he's like, you know, it still looks like an infection, but you know, we did see that these lymph nodes are all kind of conglomerated together, which I know is not a good sign. But there's a lot of things that can cause lymph nodes to conglomerate together. Back yet, but they did 5 passes in my lymph nodes for the biopsy, and then they did a bronchial washing. But you know, it's kind of crazy. But that's to get that type of biopsy. I don't even think I realized what a big surgery it kind of is. You know, you're on a ventilator. It takes about 2 hours for them to go in and do everything they're going to do. All of that, and then send that to the lab. So we'll see how it all turns out. I'll get some results today. I always feel like if I get the results, I'm a little bit better about it. But when they don't give me a chart, I'm like, because if something's really bad, they say that they send it to your doctor first, and then they put it on my chart. So but either way, guys, that's about all I have today. If you want, go back to the very beginning and play that video with Colonel Macgregor, with General Mike Flynn. I think you'll love that. Thank you, Nancy. That's a nice thing. But we'll go back to it tomorrow, get back to a little bit of a normal routine. I don't think I have any work to do this week in the morning. To be here every day, have a show every day, lots of stuff to talk about. I've got some guests in the work. But thank you so much for joining me. I am Tabitha Hassell with Tabs on Tap, and I will look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. I almost said next week. Tomorrow.